if you don't make an upgrade in your systems and specifically around automation, you get stuck. You can't, there aren't enough hours in the day, and you can't hire enough people, and the profit margins start to break down. They don't work. And so if you don't put this automation in place, you end up getting stuck, particularly on the path from 100,000 to 1 million. This is where we see it the most.
Hey everyone, this is Mark DeGrasse, the president of Digital Marketer, and this is the podcast that keeps you up to date on everything you need to know when it comes to digital marketing, from the platforms you should be focused on to the kind of tactics and tools that are working today. Today, our guest is Clate, the CEO and co-founder of Keap, where they service hundreds of thousands of users in terms of their metrics, automations, and a bunch of useful aspects for all businesses, but especially for marketing agencies and companies like Digital Marketer. We actually used Keap for quite a while, and then we left for a little bit and realized that there was literally nothing better than Keap. And then we came back to Keap again. So we've had this, we've done the onboarding a couple times now, and it's always super helpful. So welcome, Clate. Welcome to the show.
Mark, thanks so much. Great to be with you.
Yeah, so we actually just saw each other down in Costa Rica. We went to the Heights Commitment Summit, and that, your speech was fantastic about, scaling and kind of those stages of agency growth.
Yeah, that was so fun to be out there in Costa Rica, seeing, just working with entrepreneurs, and we bumped into each other in our morning time on the beach. That was that
was funny.
Great.
I was like, oh, there's another guy doing his thing, and I was like, that was the first time I had gone out, because actually at that event I was writing my speech until like 2 hours before. So I was like, this is the one morning.
That's how I was too.
Almost got eaten by crocodiles. So that was fun.
Yeah, that was great. Great event. And yeah, it was awesome to hear your speech, you were sharing on AI. And I was talking about the stages. As I shared then, small businesses grow through very predictable stages. And there's in particular, I was talking about the agency's stages of growth and how you move from stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and what happens in each of those stages. And so, I'd love to go deep on that with you at some point. I think there's a lot of cool stuff there. I think automation is the topic for the day, and I'm happy to, that's our bread and butter. That's what we do here at Keap.
Oh, I love that. Well, and I think, like you said, there are some set stages, and I think a lot of people don't realize that that's basically how business works, where you have to get to certain levels, and the levels are fairly predictable. And even though you think that your product and your customer and everything that you're doing is super unique, chances are there's been plenty of people who have done the exact same thing. So why don't we just start with kind of why automation is so useful for just agencies in general?
Yeah, you just can't do everything. And especially as entrepreneurs, you're trying to grow the business, you're trying to run your personal life. I call it The Chaos, Conquer the Chaos is a book I've written. It's actually a new edition of it's coming out here soon, which I'm really excited about. But automation is the great game changer. It's the thing that enables you to stop trading hours for dollars. Automation is so important because you can't do it all. There's so much to do. You're running your business, running your life as an entrepreneur. If you are doing things manually, you're going to go crazy. I call it the chaos. Conquer the Chaos is what I speak about all the time. It's, the book that I've written, a new version of it's got new editions coming out soon, which I'm stoked about. But you get down to it, there's just not enough hours in the day. And specifically what happens to entrepreneurs and agency owners is they're trading hours for dollars. And, this is true in almost all professional services, but it's certainly true for agencies. And when you're on that hamster wheel of trading hours for dollars, it is just maddening, and you eventually burn out. You can't do it. So automation, as I say all the time, it's the great game changer for entrepreneurs.
Oh, it's fantastic. Well, I think it's important for people to realize that, what you do is special, and it's an excellent service, and it requires a lot of effort and blah blah blah. It's entrepreneurs making an excuse for why they have to do everything. It's like, you're just being a jerk. Or you're being lazy.
But my business is different.
Oh, it's different. I have to do all this stuff. It's like, no, you don't. There are better people than you that could do this stuff, and that's fine too. You shouldn't do this stuff. I think that's the mindset shift, where it's like, no, not could you do it, it's should you do it, and then here you go. So why don't we just talk about kind of what are some of the processes you've seen agencies automate that made like a really big difference in their business?
Yeah, I think first of all, they've got to understand that automation can be very personal. I think, there are a few myths about this, and we try to teach this all the time. It's like, it's not like, myth number one is it's not just big businesses that automate. Myth number two is that, oh, that's going to be very impersonal. My business is so personal. I want to keep that personal touch. Well, of course, absolutely. Myth number three is that if some aspect of your process is manual, then it all has to be manual. No, like automate as much as you can and inject the personal manual parts in the process. But if that can only be 10% of it, you're going to save a ton of time. So, there's a bunch of other myths as well, but I think generally people have got to get off of that thought that I'm the one that has to do it. No, like let's leverage your time. Let's get the most out of what you put your time into and get you doing the things you love the most. So that's the general thing. And then what we help people see is this is, there's an art and a science to it. And we call it life cycle automation, but it's really, how do you collect leads, convert clients, create fans in an automated way and build that systematically so that your clients are feeling a personal touch. They're feeling like you're on top of it. You're ahead of the game, instead of what, unfortunately, as many times happens with agencies, is the client's feeling uninformed, forgotten, dropped. And it's like the agency owner has to sort of swoop in and save things when something's off, or, it doesn't have to be like that. So what agency owners find is when they think about their customer experience, that customer life cycle holistically, from beginning to end, there's so much they can automate and save a ton of time.
So have you seen it with like just examples in terms of like onboarding automation, or is it regular communication automation, or collecting stats?
Yeah. So from the beginning of the journey of collecting that lead that you hope to turn into a client that then becomes a raving fan, it's, what happens when you collect that lead? What's the automation? What's the automated process that lead goes through? If you're having to do that one by one with phone calls and individual emails and texts and following up with that person, it's just so repetitive. And if you go back and just look at your sent items in your email box, and you're seeing the same things that you're sending over and over and over. And so you can automate the email follow-up, you can automate text follow-up, you can automate delivery of information, you can automate, the steps in between. But ultimately, you're trying to take someone from a brand new lead to a paying client to a raving fan.
Love it. And that's, and again, like you were saying, the customization, or actually the automation, will lead to more customization, because now you know exactly what the person needs within, say, an email or whatever communication. You could add their name and you could make sure it gets sent out. We all have these awesome intentions like, oh yeah, I'm totally going to email Bill on Friday.
Right.
And I won't forget.
It's right. Exactly.
You're going to forget. So it's not just, onboarding and operations, but it's also the lead side of it.
Yeah. I mean, really simple, concrete stuff. Like, how many times do you go to an event and you get leads, you get information, but then you just don't follow up with them well, as opposed to like, you've got your lead intake process for events. And at that event, you take a picture of their card, or you scan a QR code, or you have them scan a QR code or whatever. And it drops that person right into your CRM and into the follow-up, so that the automation is happening and you don't have a list of things to do when you get back, which we all know what happens to that list most of the time. So
look at it next time the event's coming up.
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, that's just one of so many different ways you can do it. But I mean, everything from collections and doing that in an automated way to requesting referrals and repeat business and reviews. The raving fan is where all of the profit in a business is. And people don't realize this. They spend so much time collecting and converting leads into a paying client that the game kind of ends there. Of course, we want to deliver great service and we want to deliver a great product, and that, with the belief that customer is going to refer. But do you really have a referral system set up, and does it work on autopilot? And do you have a way that you systematically collect reviews? Do you have a way that you are getting repeat business through upsells and cross sells in a systematic way? When you take a step back and you look at your customer life cycle from lead to client to raving fan, where those raving fans are producing what we say all the time are the 3 R's: reviews, referrals, and repeat business. that's where all the profit happens. And if you don't automate that, unfortunately, it just gets kind of left by the wayside. And then you're constantly thinking, I need more leads to convert more clients. Well, hold on. The profit is actually in those raving fans.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's they're so much easier. I
Yeah.
think that's what everybody doesn't realize, especially the ones that haven't done any automation, where they're just like, how hard it is to find the new client,
Right.
sell the new client, onboard the new client, actually do the things for the new client, and then make sure that when you come out with new services or offers or something else that that client needs, that you're actually informing them that this thing exists, instead of just assuming they'll know about it because you posted it on your Facebook page or whatever. Like, oh, of course they know we do paid ads now.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh no, here's the list of clients, here's your rollout strategy for new products. And one of those items is always send an email out to the existing clients to say how much this can improve your thing if you just add this on. And then now you got then your launch turns into a success even before you got anybody new in the first place.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Exactly. I love it.
Well, so I think that's actually a good way to kind of describe Keap, as the the help for automating these tasks and making sure that they get done in the first place, which is really difficult. Yeah,
that's right.
Hey everyone, I wanted to quickly interrupt the podcast for a special announcement. If you're listening to this podcast because you want to become a better marketer, then I want to share with you what I believe to be the most comprehensive digital marketing program on the market today. It's called the Digital Marketing Mastery Certification. You'll learn to leverage the tools and channels to predictably and profitably drive awareness, leads, sales, and referrals. Everything you need to know to become a true master of digital marketing. We'll take an in-depth look at the core digital marketing competencies, including content, email, social media, community, digital advertising, data and optimization, and more. After earning your digital marketing strategy certificate, you'll have the tools to effectively reach your target audience through a full scope marketing strategy. Get started today at digitalmarketer.com/strategy cert.
We love helping entrepreneurs. I think of this, a Keap customer, and now has become a partner of ours. She just started her agency because she was recognizing that with a brand new baby, it was going to be really difficult for her to do the work she had been doing previously. So she started her digital marketing agency, and from the beginning built it with automation because she knew, it had to work for her lifestyle. Yeah. And, her name's Lindsay Ardmore. She's built up an agency that's got, a bunch of employees. She's been able to grow the business and do it in a way that works for her lifestyle. And, now she and her husband and family have moved to a dream property out in Florida with horses. And, it's her dream, but she built the whole thing over the last few years on automation. And now actually she works with her clients on doing automation for them, and specifically this, life cycle automation that I described. But, I think of someone like that who from early on had the automation mentality. And so many times what happens is people get going in their business and they realize I have to do automation because I'm going to go crazy here. I've got to figure this out.
Or things are plateauing and not working because the resources, like, oh, I want to grow to $1 million. Like, I actually did this with my agency where I was like, okay, everybody wants a 7-figure agency. Like, what's it going to take for me to do that? And as soon as I analyzed everything, I realized, like, okay, if I just do this through hiring, I'll make the same amount of money at $1 million as I do at $400,000. And then what's the point?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And
that's where automation comes in.
You're right. Totally. And that's, I think that's where you and I what I was sharing at that conference in Costa Rica was resonating, because you said it exactly right. You used that keyword. It's plateaus. And that is exactly what happens. People plateau. And interestingly, it happens, as we've studied this over the years, it happens at the 1s and 3s of revenue. It happens at 100,000. It happens at 300,000. It happens at 1 million. It happens at 3 million. And if you don't make an upgrade in your systems, and specifically around automation, you get stuck. You can't, there aren't enough hours in the day, and you can't hire enough people, and the profit margins start to break down. They don't work. And so if you don't put this automation in place, you end up getting stuck, particularly on the path from 100,000 to 1 million. This is where we see it the most. It's in that 100,000 to 1 million where the automation can just unlock the game and enable people to move to that 300,000 stage, the 1 million stage. Not to say that it isn't important after that, but what happens after that is you start to get much more specialized, um, much more detailed, and it becomes a real art in how you practice the science of automation. So you're right. It's just really easy to plateau. You kind of get stuck in the ways you're doing things, and you got to take a step back and look at it and really have the strategy of how you're going to do it. And I love when I see our customers who they're motivated because they're like, okay, I see it, I got it. They've done the math that you just described, and they realize, okay, well, I can keep hiring people and leading more and more people, but my take-home pay doesn't actually change that much when I do it. And so it's great that we're creating jobs and all of that. And by the way, automation doesn't entirely eliminate jobs. It enables people to do higher value activities so that you are able to drive profit margin more effectively from the man hours that you do employ.
No, and that's what people need to understand is that it's a cost savings. And even though it does take a little bit of time to invest into the processes and figuring things out and testing and actually creating the automation in the long run, which is not that long, it probably will start to have an effect immediately when you implement a new automation or procedure, and then you get the benefit as it grows. It's like a snowball over time.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, what would you say, in terms of, because you have experience with all these agencies, what would you say is the number one automation that they could add today that will have the biggest impact, like immediately?
The most basic one is automating from lead capture to lead conversion. It's the most basic. It's, at the heart of what we do. It's not the only thing we do, but marketing automation is the most common part of what we do. As you guys know, you can automate so much more with Keap. I mean, it's truly an advanced automation platform, and you can automate everything. But the most fundamental thing that people automate is that once a lead raises their hand, fills out your form, comes into your system, however they do, what is the automated process to get them to the next milestone in that customer journey? Is it, are you wanting them to sign up for a class, attend a course? Are you wanting them to be at an event, or are you wanting them to purchase your package? There's whatever that conversion is for you. From lead collection to that first conversion, that's the most common thing to get automated. And it just begins from there. What I love is when people see that and they realize, oh my gosh, I just took this process that usually takes us, 6 steps and 3 weeks to get done. And I was able to automate it and indoctrinate the prospect in a more effective way so that they're inclined to work with us, and do it without me or my team having to put a bunch of time and energy into it. Then they're hooked. Then they're like, oh my gosh, what's the next thing I can automate, and the next thing and the next thing. And the most common thing is new lead follow-up. The second most common thing is new client onboarding, new client welcome, with a defined path to get that that client into a raving fan that's doing the 3 R's: reviews, referrals, repeat business. So those are just some of the very specific normal things. But it really comes down to just moving, following up with the individual so that you're moving them through the customer life cycle in an automated way. And it can be personal, it can be tailored. Like you pointed out a little earlier, you said, once you've got the information, like now you can give them very specific stuff that matters, just to them. And, with a robust automation platform, you can get really creative in the ways that you deliver a very tailored message to the individual that feels like you're talking to them very personally, very directly, but you really are talking to your, each person that's at that step in the journey.
No, well, and I love that you said that, that lead to conversion point, because a lot of people, when you're getting into procedures and you're getting into automations, they try to start with the most boring, least impactful thing. They're like, well, if it goes bad, then it won't matter because this process is not really necessary. But doing what you said is way better, because you can say, hey, this is your first time getting into automations. Let's automate something that could have a huge impact. And let's do something that you're probably dropping the ball on already. If you're being honest, and most marketers are like, I stopped the follow-up process. And even though we know, because I'll get calls from somebody consistently where I'm like, every 3 months they hit me up on LinkedIn, just like I told them to. And I might take years to make a decision, but because they do that follow-up, I'm still gonna, that's still a consideration that might pay off for them, even though it's not that much work. But
totally. You just called out the number one fail is people will go for something that doesn't act. They'll try to automate something that's not really meaningful in the business. The second one is they try to automate everything all at once. It's like, no, one bite at a time.
And the third one,
doing. yeah. And the third one is that they psych themselves out and don't engage in it because they buy into one of those myths. But yeah, you said it, like once they see it, they get totally bought into it.
Yeah.
And people know, they, like you just commented on the point that we know if we followed up. I'll share a couple stats that are just like amazing we've seen over the years. The first one, this is pretty common. People hear this, that when a customer buys, it's generally that they've seen that message somewhere between 7 and 12 times. You've got to, so you got to get the message over and over. We know that, but yet most people follow up. Most entrepreneurs will follow up 1 to 3 times. That's the standard. When we watch our clients put automated follow-up in place, their sales will increase 2 to 3x, almost certainly when they put all of these steps in place. Now, it doesn't happen immediately. You start with the things but you're going to see a dramatic increase when you put this follow-up in place. People just don't do it because they're like, I don't have the time, I don't have the system, I don't really have the expertise, I don't know where to get that, and so we just keep doing the same old thing, making 1 to 3 follow-up calls, knowing that most people buy after you've stayed in front of them for a long time. And like you're pointing out the LinkedIn, that person that just keeps calling, because it's about timing. When the timing's right, someone's ready to go, and the one that gets that business is the one who's stayed in front of them and just been consistent.
Oh yeah. Well, you've always had the stat of, the customer that can afford your product and wants your product. Only about 3% of those people are ready to buy it today.
That's right.
And so you're leaving out the 97%, and that's ridiculous.
Right. The whole point is you build a database, and smart marketers have done this forever. They've done database marketing before CRM was even a thing.
Oh yeah.
And I think everybody probably knows CRM, customer relationship management. That's really a strategy, like I just described with customer lifecycle, but your system of how you manage all of that's your CRM software. And then your automation is what turns that into, turns that quote unquote customer database into just a
money machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Just spit it out. All you gotta do is turn it on. No, and I think that, and the other side of like, hey, do something meaningful, automate something meaningful.
Yes.
Will sell you on doing it to everything else, on all those less important tasks that are still taking up your time and could still be extremely valuable, but now you'll be sold on it. Because I'll tell you, when I set up an automation and it works for the first time, it's like, oh my gosh, they weren't lying. It works, but until you experience it yourself, it's impossible to understand.
Totally. I'll leave you with this little story. We had a customer who we started working with. She and her husband had been running their business for several years. It'd been kind of just a family long-term business. And she started to put life cycle automation in place. And over the course of about 4 or 5 months, we helped her get it all in place. She was able to build it all out. Their leads increased about 4x, their customers increased about 3x. But the interesting thing was, and all they did was have their college daughter start working with them. So it was the 2 of them, and then they had their college daughter start helping as well, part-time. The interesting thing was she got sick and had to be hospitalized. And she wrote us, she sent us an email, and she said, hey, you haven't heard from me about this, what happened? She said, the amazing thing was, while I was in the hospital, the business continued to grow and actually did better than ever because of the automation that we had set up. And she said, it's not just that the business is going well. I got back and I realized how cool it is that we've created something that doesn't require me to be there all the time. And, heaven forbid something else would happen. The fact that automation enables the business to keep going, to keep serving and providing the information and the follow-up and the customer service to the customers in a really personal way. That's a very vivid example of what happens when you put automation in place. Not only do you grow, but you save a ton of time, and you make the business less dependent on you as the business owner. And I think as an agency owner, you have a lot of weight on your shoulders. The client's always kind of looking to you, no matter how many people you add. It's they always want you. So making that, putting that automation in place that enables you to go on vacation, or heaven forbid, be hospitalized and not set the business back entirely. That's some of the cool things that automation can do.
Well, I think that that's an entirely different aspect, but maybe the most vital, because if you think of a person who has kids and you're running a business and you're making it, but it does require all of your time. Like it's almost, I don't want to call people irresponsible because I'm one of them, but it's almost irresponsible not to, because if you say that, hey, if I'm out for a week, and I know tons of entrepreneurs like this, if you're out for a week or 2 weeks, like the whole thing could fall apart, or you're going to take a massive hit in sales because you're not on the phone all the time. You're not doing all this work. So I think, if you're not going to automate because it's going to help you scale your business, going to help you stress less, going to help you, increase the efficiency of every process to make all elements of the business more profitable, then do it. Not for those reasons. Do it because, you can't be around forever, and actually having an entire business be dependent on you, all your employees, all of your customers, your family, everybody's dependent on you, is not healthy, for one. And on the worst case scenario, it's super dangerous because you just don't want to have that kind of, risk. Yeah. And automation is the easiest way, or maybe not the easiest, but the best way to enhance your business, scale your business, and secure it against, potential risks that could happen if you're not involved. So
yeah, totally. Well said.
There you go. Everybody needs to get Keap. Where can they get Keap?
Well,
where can they start?
What they should do is get, they need a guide is really what they need. And we have a guide, the guide to automation for small businesses and entrepreneurs. That's who we serve. Our customers are small businesses, entrepreneurs that want to grow, and so they can go to keap.com/DM. We love digital marketing, the partnership we've had for years. I've loved working with you guys over the years, and great friends with Ryan, and you and I have become friends now. And I appreciate, I love what you guys do out there. I think it's amazing. And so we have a partnership now, keap.com/DM. They can go and get the guide to automation. They can also get a free no pitch 30-minute just consultation on automation. So from one of our automation experts. It's not a salesperson. It's just like showing you what automation can do and pointing you in the right direction. So between the guide and that free consult, that's really where you should start, so that you get the strategy of automation. When people just go try to get a piece of software like that, we've done this for 20 years, and we've seen what happens when you just get software. It's not about software. You got to have that, but you got to have the strategy, and you have to have the service, the guide to go with it, so that you do this in a way that creates the outcomes you're after. And so, if nothing else, go get that guide at keap.com/DM and, talk to one of our people for a 30-minute consult on, one of our automation experts.
Yeah, and I definitely recommend it. Like I said, we've been using you guys forever, and the support function that you guys run, because at the end of the day, everybody's business is very unique, and you can't expect these kind of out of the box solutions to necessarily do everything that you need it to. And you guys really work with the businesses to make sure that's tailored specifically to their unique needs and their objectives and their customers, and then you make it as painless as possible, which we definitely appreciate and we use all the time. So thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. We love working with you guys, and love your audience and community, and love to be a part of it. And thanks for giving me an opportunity to just be with you here, and would love sometime to talk about the stages or talk about Conquer the Chaos when my book comes out, whatever. Let's keep the conversation going. It's been fun.
Definitely. We'll have you back on soon, talk some more automations and fun stuff. Book launches are always fun. I'm always interested, like, what was the content people actually liked, or that people talk about all the time.
Right.
We'll have you back on for that. So thank you so much, Clate.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Mark. Take care.
All right. And thank you so much for listening. Be sure to hit that follow button so you get notified when all of our new episodes release. Please share this with that friend who's clueless about digital marketing. And don't forget to visit digitalmarketer.com, where you can access all of our courses, certifications, and training programs. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next time.